Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know that there were a number of parents that reached out to me to ask if this event could be recorded because they had to come late. So,
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead
oops,
and get started. I know that there were
sorry, technology difficulties. Because they needed to come late or they have to leave late. So, this event is being recorded. It's going to be on our Facebook platform, and we'll put it on our website as well, which is friendsofdifferentlearners.com. I'll put this information in the chat function so that you can access it too. So, if you are new to the group, we are very happy to have you here. So, welcome. This is the Friends of Different Learners December 3rd meeting for the school year. And if you are new to the group, we are an independent organization made up of mostly parents of Birmingham Public Schools students, but also teachers, administration, staff, and other community stakeholders. We work with the specialized instruction group within Birmingham Public Schools, and our goal is to maximize the potential of our students. So we have many members that have kids with IEPs and 504s, but we have a lot of parents that don't fall into those categories and have joined us. Our monthly events, so like these events, are free, and we try to put on a different content topic area of interest every month. So these events are free, they're open to the community, and because of the nature of this school year, these events are all going to be virtual or for the foreseeable future anyway. So we'll hopefully be able to continue to record them as well. We would love to have you join Friends. If you would like to join Friends, if you could put your name and your email in the chat function, and we can follow up with you on how to do that after. But the information will also be on our website, which again is friendsofdifferentlearners.com. We do ask for a $10 donation for the school year to join our group, and most of this will go towards grants that we provide the schools for different things they may want or need for their different learners. We are also looking for a few people that would like to get a little bit more involved. We have some building rep positions that are not full yet for this school year. So this is a very low time commitment position, but as an important one. You would be the liaison between your school, whatever building your kid is at, if you're within the Birmingham Public Schools area, and also back to the Friends group. So if a parent is looking for more support or has questions, they can contact you. You can get them connected to us, and hopefully we can provide that support or get them in the right direction. You don't need to attend our monthly meetings or executive meetings to be a building rep, but you'd be more than welcome to. So I want to just say the buildings that we're still looking for reps for the school year. And if you are interested, if you could put that in the chat, and we'll follow up with you after, and note which building. So we are still looking for a building rep at Bingham Farms, Midville, West Maple, Derby, Berkshire, Groves, and Seaholm. So if you are there, this is again a very low time commitment position, but an important one. What else did I just wanted to mention that our next meeting is early January, the first Thursday in January, and that one will be on executive function skills. So then I am actually going to turn it over to our Vice President, Amy, who is going to introduce our guest today.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to join us tonight for an informative and inspiring talk on how individualized diagnostic brain balance therapies can improve one's overall mental health and well-being. Dr. Husmillo has a diploma from the American Chiropractic Neurology Board, as well as an advanced postdoctorate training in functional neurology. Dr. Husmillo has been working in this community for over 20 years, providing non-pharmaceutical treatment approach to children with ADD, ADHD, OCD, autism spectrum disorders, learning, and behavioral disabilities. Tonight, Dr. Husmillo will be discussing some of his techniques and strategies to achieve personal results. Let's welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Michael Husmillo.
Thank you, Amy, and to Stacy for allowing me to speak to your group tonight. I'm really excited to talk about some important developments that we've done over the years in working with kids. So first and foremost, I like to talk about brain development and how it affects a child's behavior, but also now we know coordination of movements, thoughts, and learning processes. So my goal for everybody tonight is just to maybe get a different perspective on their child. Hey, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that, but just get a better understanding where your child be coming from and look at it more from a brain development as well. Okay, so my first slide is I truly believe there is genius in every child. And I truly believe that. And my goal tonight is for everyone to kind of see what can we do to get our child that way. So in order to achieve this, the brain must get all types of stimulation. So let's first talk about what happens when a child's brain doesn't receive that proper input or enough input. So one of the things you may understand is poor body awareness. This is basically, you may know kids or your kids may get lost in space. They may start bumping into things. They may have poor spatial orientation. They also may have a difficulty with their balance. So these are things you may start seeing your child, or maybe throughout the years to develop the proper way is, and I will kind of go in later detail how to work on this, but basically the first step is these are things you may find in your child. They may have, because of the poor body awareness too, you also may have a negative effect on their emotional and social development. Then understand what also your poor motor skills is another aspect. A child may have problem controlling their movements and their muscles. Obviously, gross motor movements are very important. And we know during development, the first 3 years of life, the gross motor skills are the first ones to develop in a child. And as a result of this, if a child misses these stages, they may start to develop poor muscle tone. They may start to develop poor posture, coordination as well, and rhythm and timing. They're all kind of going hand in hand with just first developing gross motor skills. But then as a result of this, if you start to develop, or if you can't develop your gross motor skills, how do you develop your fine motor skills? Because after having gross motor skills, the fine motor skills will follow. And as a result of this, when you have difficulty with your fine motor skills, what do we see in our kids? Difficulty writing, or even the ability to tie their shoes properly. Also, you also may see with poor motor skills is eye coordination. Very important. This may lead to lazy eye. Also, too, because of the poor eye coordination, this actually may affect a child's ability to read properly. Let's talk about social skills. As a result of this, you may see now my child, in addition to poor body awareness, poor motor skills, now social skills may start to happen as well. And this is very important because as a child's developing their brain, and if they don't understand their body, how will they actually be able to understand other people around them? How are they going to be able to understand, interact with other people on a social level? As a result of this, some kids may have a poor sense of their body, which will then lead to poor non-verbal communication. And as a result of this, the nonverbal communication, then we may lead to abnormal emotional reactions as well. Next thing we're going to talk about is sensory processing. So as a result of these poor body awareness, kids may actually start to develop some sensory issues, right? Kids, as you may know, may start to have hypersensitivity to sound or taste or smell. Even their vision may be affected as well. But as a result of sensory processing issues, this actually can lead to a child becoming a picky eater, the ability to stand noises, but also you may notice sometimes a kid may just not want to be hugged. just because of the fact that they don't understand their body as well. Next thing too, when a child doesn't understand their brain and their environment, we may start to see some academic and cognitive system as well. This may lead to reading comprehension, writing issues, spelling, math, concentration, disorganization, remembering, and poor sense of timing. So you can see all these different aspects all kind of stems from how the child's brain is developing. Let's talk about other things too as well, in addition to poor sensory issues, poor body awareness, poor motor skills. We also may start to see now in a child, maybe they start to develop other like health problems. They may be developing a weak immune system, maybe compromised. Maybe this child's actually getting sick, a lot of ear infections. Or on the other extreme, maybe they're not even getting sick at all. But I'll kind of explain to you later on why that's also important too, to understand when a kid never gets sick as well. Other health problems too, a child may be developing a poor digestive health. So sometimes a child may have problems going to the bathroom or always constipated. They may develop also food sensitivities, asthma. So a lot of these things that we see in kids all stems from how a child's brain is first developing the first few years of life. So let's talk about a aspect of child's development and what can actually contribute to these brain delays. These are called primitive reflexes. Now, primitive reflexes are normally found in newborns, but then they're integrated within the first year of life. So basically, let's imagine when a baby's born, they automatically know how to suck. They may grab your finger right away. So those are just natural reflexes that a baby will do to survive the first year of life. But after a while, when these reflexes are not integrated, this actually can lead to some delays in a child's development. It may lead to learning delays or social delays as well. Let's talk about one really cool article that was just published by one of my mentors, doing a lot of research on this aspect. So understanding childhood primitive reflexes, actually when they are present, will have effects on cognitive, sensorimotor, and academic performance in ADHD. So basically this research article looked at how primitive reflexes that are present in a child actually cause delays or affect them cognitively, sensory-wise, motor-wise, and academic as well. So let's talk about some primitive reflexes. And as I go through this, maybe these things might kind of jog some thoughts in your child specifically, but I'm gonna kind of go over the reflexes first, and I'll kind of integrate how maybe if you want to go more detail, understand how we can actually integrate these reflexes. So the first one I'm talking about is the grasp reflex. So when this reflex is present in a child, this actually will lead to poor manual dexterity, poor pencil grip, which basically means then they'll have difficulty writing. But also we're finding out too, this is affects how speech and hand movement work, being able to talk and use your hands at the same time. Another reflex that is when it's present after a year old, these is called the Monroe reflex. So when you have problems with this, that actually can lead to difficulty focusing, poor impulse control. A child may have emotional immaturity or withdrawn or timid. Sometimes kids can be excited or distracted easily, or they also may have difficulty playing ball games, aggressive and anxious. So as you can see, as I go through these primitive reflexes, when they are present, these are things that we're seeing in kids. We're seeing these delays. We're seeing these types of social and learning disorders pop up. Okay, let's talk about the rooting reflex. All right, this is basically when this is present in a child, it's also called sucking reflex. This can lead to poor articulation, maybe sensitivity around the face. They're messy eaters, poor manual dexterity. So you can see that sometimes when we have speech delays, a lot of it too could be affected by having this primitive reflex still present in a child. Next one I want to talk about is the asymmetric tonic neck reflex. So this is another particular reflex that we see in kids. If it is present, this could lead to poor handwriting. This can lead to difficulty for a child to express ideas in written form. Big thing can lead to actually poor eye tracking and eye coordination, difficulty reading and writing, and also difficulty copying from the blackboard. So what I'm saying is these primitive reflexes, once again, I want to iterate, they're not pathological, they're just functional. So when they're present, they create these delays in the brain. As a result of these delays, we may not have all these tracks to the cortex actually built properly. Another reflex I want to talk about is called spinal gallant reflex. If this is present in a child, this actually will cause a child to be unable to sit still. May lead to poor posture, chronic digestive issues, and also maybe bedwetting beyond 5 years. The crawling reflex. When this is present in a child, we may see poor posture, poor eye-hand coordination, messy eaters, and poor swimming skills. The next reflex I talked about is the tonic labyrinthian reflex. If this is present in a child, you may see poor posture, poor balance. They may get motion sickness, toe walkers. The child's muscle tone either may be too weak or too strong. Sometimes kids may dislike playing sports. You may see poor sense of rhythm or timing, or actually problem with spatial orientation as well. And lastly, another reflex is called the Landau reflex. This can lead to poor balance. This can actually lead to difficulty hopping, jumping, or skipping, or awkward movements in the lower half of the body. So once again, with these reflexes, and there's 8 of them, there's a lot more, but these are the main ones we look at in our office. When these are present, they actually will create these functional delays in kids. They, like I said, they may have balance issues. They may have reading issues. They may have difficulty with expressing their ideas or impulse control. Now, with all primitive reflexes, the good thing is, though, is they can be integrated. And as a result of this, they will help decrease brain delay. But how do we achieve these reflexes? One of the things, though, is movement. Movement plays a big role. Obviously, proper exercise can integrate reflexes found in kids, thus reducing brain delay. So the most important thing is movements, but the proper movement is really important because there are specific exercises designed to integrate each reflex properly in a child. Let's talk about this particular. I'm going to kind of go over some reflexes with you, how to integrate them. If you have any more questions, just let me know later. For one, the primitive reflexes is for the grasp reflex. You actually would squeeze a ball. Remember, this reflex, kids have the difficulty writing or expressing their ideas. So one way would be to squeeze a ball. Also, my idea tonight is just to empower you as parents to, hey, if you see some of these learning or challenges in your child, I'm just kind of give you some exercise you can possibly do with your child to see, hey, maybe I can integrate these reflexes. Or if you want a little bit more help on that, just let me know later on. I'll give you my information. The next, the Moreau reflex or stall reflex. This is called the starfish. It's actually a pretty intense exercise for a child to do, but it's actually known to help integrate the Moreau reflex, which, if you remember earlier, it talks about when it's present in a child, this can lead to impulse control, poor impulse control. The rooting reflex. This one is for you with the stroke. Basically, if you got a brush and were to stroke the side of the face from the mouth to the cheek, this actually can help integrate this reflex. And remember, if this reflex is present, it can lead to poor articulation and speech difficulties. Asymmetric taut neck reflex. This is called the reverse lizard. So a lot of these terms I'm showing you, or these exercises, actually can be found on our website as well. But the idea is basically there. I'm trying to get across is there's exercise that you can do to help integrate these reflexes in your child. The spinal gallant reflex, if you remember, if this is present, this actually can affect posture control, but also affects bedwetting as well. The symmetric taut neck reflex or the crawling reflex, once again, this is a lizard as well. And once again, I know these exercises may sound kind of boring to some people, and maybe some of your parents have heard these before, but the idea is if we can integrate these reflexes properly, we can start seeing some changes in our child. The tonic labyrinthian reflex, once again, if this is present, leads to balance issues, postural issues, coordination issues, and one good exercise called a heel to toe exercise. The Landau reflex, this is present. Superman, a very simple exercise as well. But once again, the idea is if these primitive reflexes are present, we want to integrate them in our child because, like I said earlier, if they're present, they can lead to brain delays in the child. And so one aspect too, I want to go a little bit more detail now, because I talked about movement earlier, is the cerebellum. We now know through a lot of research that the cerebellum is basically it's the lower part of the cortex, but actually we now know it actually plays a very big role in interpreting and coordinating motor activities, helps with learning motor skills. So we know the cerebellum helps with coordination of movements, but now we know it helps with balance, coordination of movements, but also we're starting to find out it actually plays a role in language, attention, memory, and emotions, which is pretty important for executive function and higher order thinking. So basically, one way I always feel in our office to actually affect this part of the brain for any child is actually making sure they can balance really well. I think if you activate child's cerebellum, and it's pretty straightforward, balance exercises are really powerful. And I will kind of go over a little bit right now what those you can do in a minute. A little bit backtrack here. Cerebellum too, we're finding out that up to 50% of children and adolescents with neurobehavioral disorders exhibit motor abnormalities in altered balance. Basically, what we're saying is, wow, if the cerebellum is not functioning well in a child, it's actually a child can exhibit they feel about who they are. Confidence, pretty straightforward. Walking on a 2x4, forward and backwards, side to side, is actually another good exercise for the cerebellum. We're also trying to stand on one leg, right first the right leg, then the left leg is actually also a very good exercise for the cerebellum. But a little disclaimer here, but before you try these, I recommend getting evaluated by just to make sure because some of these exercises are really challenging for kids. So it's really important, I think, to get evaluated first. But once again, the take-home message for this is activate that cerebellum. It's really cool if you can, because like I said, the cerebellum plays a role not only in coordination of movements and balance, but also now we're seeing helps with thought processes, helps with learning and memory as well. Okay, let's talk about another important aspect to me of brain development is hemispheres of the brain. So we talked about the cerebellum, right, which is the lower part of the brain. Now we're going to talk about actually left and right hemispheres of the brain. So the right hemisphere and left hemisphere, although are similar in appearance anatomically, they all have different functions. So let's talk about the right hemisphere here. The right hemisphere helps with what we call the EQ, which is basically the emotional intelligence. It helps with nonverbal communication. It actually helps with social skills. Its job is to help suppress the immune system. It helps with big picture. It also helps with large muscle control. So we're talking to gross motor skills. It actually helps with balance and coordination. Helps with comprehension, math, reasoning, and also digestion. Okay, I'm going to talk about now the left hemisphere. So the left hemisphere does your IQ. So the right hemisphere is the EQ, while the left hemisphere is your IQ. It also helps with verbal communication, the detailed small pictures. This type, it actually activates your immune system. Small muscle control, so that helps with fine motor skills, word reading, math calculations, and linear thinking. So let's say now we know through some research too, let's say if a child may exhibit some right brain deficiencies, this is where you may see a child showing some ADHD, autism, PDD, OCD, ODD, nonverbal learning disorder, also Tourette's syndrome. A left brain deficiency may be diagnosed with dyslexia, verbal processing disorders, dyspraxia, basically abnormal movements, and also unable to calculate math skills. So there are things that we teach patients in our office that if we see maybe some right brain challenges in kids, these are really cool right brain exercises I think you can do. Arranging blocks is really good. Listening to and reading stories with images, looking at anonymous faces or meeting new people, tracing a maze with the hands is really good. Also, basically trying to move those large muscles. Like I said earlier, gross motor skills, right brain helps with the balance board, helps you with running, helps you with jumping, biking, and swimming. Also, too, a good right brain exercise is actually listening to melody of music and tone. And specifically, since we know that sound travels opposite, actually listening to music specifically just in the left ear actually will sense for right brain. Also, we know that the right brain likes lower pitch sounds and also likes the color blue. Let's talk about the left brain. Left brain likes writing. It listens actually for rhythm music with the right ear. It likes counting exercises. It likes to look at familiar things. It likes finger tapping exercise or using your small muscles. Sometimes too, even reading nouns aloud is actually good left brain exercise. Or this is a really tough one for kids, but actually really good one. It's actually generating a verb to noun list. Basically, that means going, for example, to be like running to run, player to play. These are really good verb to noun exercises for left brain activity. Your left brain likes high pitched sounds and also the color red. Lots of times we tell our kids, hey, if you want to get the left brain activated for for a big test, wear the color red. Okay, other good exercise you can actually do as well is actually figure eights. Basically, that's what you're doing. It's just basically having your hands out in front of you and kind of just doing figure eights. Is actually a good exercise because what it does, it actually helps coordinate movements with your hands, but also with your opposite brain. In the process too, it also helps with keeping your body awareness. It actually helps you with understanding who you are. It helps with your eye function and also helps with shoulder movements as well. Another good exercise you can do is actually spinning in a chair. I don't recommend spinning really fast, but even for a child, sometimes when they have issues with we call the vestibular cerebellum, spinning in the chair gives some nice good exercise. Or you can even go to the park and those tires, spinning them in the tire actually is a really good input for a child. A grab bag, as we call for like we recommend for our parents in our office is, if you get like a cloth bag and you put some different things in there, you actually have a kid try to put their hand in there and identify what it could be. It could be a pencil, it could be any toy, it could be different textures. But the idea is for a child to kind of just identify things in the grab bag, but also allows them to feel different types of textures as well. And also, too, you can ask them to try to find any particular form, which is a really good form, any particular item. Hey, try to find a pencil for me, so they can start to know these different things as well. So what happens when the hemisphere or a brain doesn't get, what actually affects the hemisphere development, actually overall brain development or brain health? We now know through a lot of research that the environment plays the biggest role in brain health. Besides genetics, the environment plays a big role. So that says a lot about this because we know that you can still make change in a child's brain. What it is now, it doesn't mean it's gonna be that way forever. But the most important thing is understanding how the environment plays a big role in this. So what's the environment basically? What does that consist of? That's basically light, sound, smell, taste, touch, movement. So let's go back to, environment. Sorry about this. Once again, light, sound, smell, taste, touch. Let's talk about light. So we know that light is a very powerful stimulation to a child. Study shows that blue lights from our phones and tablets actually create OC type behavior. I kind of want to hit this point a little bit more because we know a lot of our kids are virtually learning. So they're on their tablet all day long, on their iPad or the computer. So we now know that the blue light that comes from the tablets, from the phones, from the smartphones actually stimulates the reward centers of the brain called your dopamine. And as a result of that, actually can lead to excessive behavior like OCD type behavior. So, from a lot of research now, we're knowing that, what can actually help is if you use some blue light blocking glasses, because we know that can actually block out the blue light, which actually can slow down some of these ability to excite those dopamine receptors. Like I said, research shows screens from devices such as tablets and smartphones emit harmful blue lights. This can cause headaches, eye strain, and irritation for a kid. Also, too, we know that furthermore, sleep can actually be affected by this blue light. So, during this time, if your child is having difficulty sleeping because of the virtual learning, one of the things you may start to think about too, how do I kind of suppress this, is basically trying to calm down the blue light. Is once again, the blue light glasses are really good. That I'm finding it's really helpful for a lot of kids. In the process though too, because that blue light keeps firing, that child's dopamine receptor is actually going to affect how they sleep. Taste is another environmental stimulation. Important for kids allergic. So when your kids are young, try all foods, but it's actually a good sensory input. Now I know when kids have poor taste, it actually leads to being a picky eater. Also, too, we like to talk about what's really important in the environment is actually crawling. because when a child crawls, they actually not only stimulate their feet, but also their hands. It's very important. Um, a lot of important research shows that if a child walks too early, he's not going to get a lot of input into his hands. So he's losing that input. As a result, the brain doesn't get that input. And that may lead to actually delays in terms of sensory as well. So my take home message is basically this is child brain development is very responsive to positive and negative influences. Basically, if we give the right input, we can change a child's brain, good or bad. But the one thing we do know that exists now, and actually a lot of research shows this actually called plasticity. My belief is this: is a lot of research shows that if the child gets the right stimulation and the proper stimulation, a child will be able to make these changes. It's hard, but it'll be very challenging as well. But the proper input in a child's brain will help with the overall development. Neuroplasticity is important because that's what we believe in our office, that if you give the right input, you can actually change brain development. And as a result, these changes in brain development help with kids further help them actually reach their full potential. And so we know that is basically, I feel, is probably the most important thing tonight is understand neuroplasticity, because from the primitive exercise I taught you, from exercise from the right brain, left brain, these are all positive neuroplasticity you give to a child's brain and make changes for them, positive, in ways we cannot even fathom right now. Kind of show a couple pictures. This is a child who's fully grown, but actually these are good cross crawl exercises that we do in our office. There's another one. There's a good balance board exercise. You can see with this child, she actually has her eye patch, so we're actually kind of giving this child a little bit more input to her left brain. So another good balance exercise is sitting on a ball. Another one too, as a child gets a little bit stronger, sitting on a ball and actually doing some exercises with their upper back is actually good for their muscle tone as well. And once you can see, this child's now patching the other eye, kind of giving input to the other brain as well. This is a really good cross crawl exercise we see. As you can see, her right arm is up, her left leg is out, and opposite arm legs on the floor. This is actually a good coordination exercise for kids to do as well. And once again, her eye is patched here. So I kind of want to reiterate this again for everybody to see, because these are just really cool exercises that kids can do. It's not complex. Just have them do crawling exercise. This actually coordinates the right and left brains for them. This one works on a balance board. You can make your own balance board too. You don't have to buy a big expensive one. It's really good because we talked about earlier that if you actually improve their cerebellum, and that cerebellum is really, really cool for improving not only balance and coordination, but thought processes now, right? Helps with learning and understanding what you're learning as well. Once again, if you have a Swiss ball or this big exercise ball, these are good for kids. I actually recommend it too sometimes with kids now who are virtually learning, sitting on these balls actually may be beneficial to them as they're trying to learn, because the process of trying to learn all day long, you actually can also improve their cerebellum, which helps improve their balance and coordination and also learning. This is a really cool exercise to kind of multitask with kids. And actually, this is a really cool, once more, cross-crawl exercise. So my goal is just for you guys to understand, you don't have to have high-tech stuff. Just these are really good things for kids to start doing and moving. Okay, I know sometimes I'm asked too, what are good nutritional aspects for brain development in kids? So the kind of things that I just want to maybe go over a little bit as well is actually B vitamins, because B is for brain. And my belief too as well, you don't always have to take vitamins for your kids. Sometimes if you can just give them food, but sometimes we know kids are picky eaters, so we have to give them corn that's found in beef, chicken, salmon, tuna, or turkey. But we know that B12 helps in the processing of very important neurochemicals in our brain. Vitamin B6, once again, can be found in beef, chicken, salmon, tuna, turkey, spinach, and sweet potatoes. B1, this can be found in beef, almond, salmon, tuna, turkey, rice, and asparagus. B3, asparagus, chicken, avocados, bell peppers, portobello mushrooms, tuna, and sweet potatoes. B5 is banana, cabbage, avocado, meats, poultry, squash, sunflower seeds. And folate, a lots of times I know some parents out there may know they have this called a MTH. So, folate can be found in asparagus, broccoli, avocado, carrots, mangoes, nuts, and seeds. And so to me, it's really important to make sure proper nutrition as well, because we know it's also very important for brain development too. And I know that in addition to getting the right B vitamins, that also helps improve their neurochemicals, which helps with serotonin, dopamine, which helps kids feel good about themselves or helps kids feel bad about themselves. So I have this really cool slide I want everyone to know. One of the greatest geniuses of all time trained himself to be, from a young age, to have a perfectly balanced brain. He could write and paint. He could write right side up and upside down, forwards and backwards equally well. He was a master of fine arts, but also inventive and abstract. He had a perfect balance of science and art. And this is Leonardo da Vinci. So even he knew back then having left and right brain balance is really powerful for anybody to succeed, or just to really reach the child's full, for anybody to reach their full potential. This is my last slide, but yeah, thank you to Amy Stage tonight about brain development in kids. There's a lot of information, but I just want you guys to, as parents, to understand from a different perspective, there's things you can do and improve a child's brain development just by simple exercise and understanding what to look for in a child. Also, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to email me or contact me. I'll be willing to talk to you about your child as well. And if you have any questions about these exercises, once again, don't hesitate to call me, because I always feel there's genius in every child. I just want to help you guys reach their potential as well. Okay, I think that is it.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see if there's any questions. If anybody has a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself to ask. Once again, for the people that joined us a little bit later, this meeting is being recorded. So if you missed some of it, you will be able to access that on our website. Well, I would like to actually ask one question if I could, and then we'll see if any others pop on before we conclude the meeting. But you mentioned a lot of different exercises that we could do. I know this probably definitely varies child to child, but do you usually see some sort of difference from those exercises, like in a week, a month? I'm sure it's very hard to pinpoint, but what sort of timeline do you typically see?
A lot of it too is, you're right too, Stacey. It's how, if you're diligent with it. Some kids you can see within 2 weeks, some kids you may see in a month. But a lot of it too is just creating that neuroplasticity we talked about, how repetition is the biggest key for kids. It's exercise that for some kids may be challenging, but if you start to create that neuroplasticity, it's actually going to make that input in child's brain, because it's something that the brain wants. It's something they're craving to have. As kids may find challenging at times in the beginning, but you can start to see that if it gets in there, they'll start to feel better about themselves too.
And when you work with a kid, do you is there like a homework component? So you're giving them okay.
Yeah, this is we teach you stuff in our office, but ultimate goal is to empower every parent, and that's when exercises come in and homework they gotta do. But a lot of it too in the beginning, maybe a little challenging, but as they start to get through it, they understand how important this is. And I think a lot of kids too start to feel that as well. And they start to, I need to do my exercises, mom and dad, because this makes me feel better. It's not, these exercises aren't going to be an hour long. It's just enough to create that proper input, because we know through each kid has their own issues. So we can pinpoint what they need actually will be better for them. Like I say, if they do it right, they do it correctly, it won't take an hour to do.
Thank you. And we have a couple questions that have popped up in the chat, so I'm going to read those. Robin asks, have you considered doing an online class for kids to do these exercises, or does something like that exist, like a virtual?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because usually I do this lecture in front of people, so I'm really jumping around, moving around. But we do have like videos on our website of how to do these exercises, and it actually displays like, what you may see with terms of challenges, but a lot of it too is to say, does my kid have a spinal gland reflex? And a lot of it too is we can totally teach you how to look for this in a child, because ultimately I just want every kid to get a chance. So these exercises, we could teach how to do them. We can teach how to actually look for them as well, because you're not doing anything intense. It's just functional. It's there's something's not right, like, oh, my kid doesn't run properly, or he doesn't coordinate what's going on. So these are simple things that a parent can do, and totally get these exercises in, and then make these changes. Like I said, because these primitive reflexes, when they're present, they create these layers up to the brain. Ultimately, we want to get that brain happy, but there's floors we got to get through first. So we got to lay down the foundation, and these primitive reflexes actually lay the foundation down. If they're present, that's the problem.
Okay, and if you're not sure which reflex might be weaker, that's where you can step in and help, I'm
Right. Yeah,
assuming.
totally. I mean, it's primitive reflex have been around for the longest time. They've been, because that's what allows a neonate or a child the first year to survive. But the problem is, like I said, if it's present, it just creates these delays. I mean, it's nothing pathological. It's just, hey, why does my kid have a hard time, writing, from the blackboard, or why does his eyes look kind of lazy there? So all these things, that we see, and we think something's wrong, when it really is just the connection and the coordination and these reflexes being present that slow these things down.
Thank you. And we have another question in the chat. Beth is asking, is there an age range where this works best? And what do you think about teens? Is that too late?
That's a good question, actually, because we work with kids as 1 and 2, and obviously for some parents they have to do all the work, even like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. Sometimes the mom and dad to come and do the exercises for them, and then as they get 6, 7, even teens may find this a little bit challenging. So we got to make it a bit more um, tough for them. But the idea, we work with kids from 3 to 18. I will have an 18-year-old crawl. I will have them do a lot of things that you would think a 3-year-old can do. But yeah, because crawling is very important, like I talked about earlier. And if I see, primitive reflexes present in 18-year-olds, I'll make them do the same thing, because of the fact that they need to remove these delays. I mean, you remove the delays, right? The brain can start doing what it wants to do and be happy and make all these beautiful connections like it's meant to do, like it's meant to be, basically. So yeah, sometimes it's challenging because the younger kids, the parents have to get more involved. But as I think, with my experiences, if the kids understand what they gotta do, the most importantly, I always tell parents, it's not the amount of exercise you do, it's actually the quality. If you make 5 good ones, it's better than just doing 20 of just trying to do it. I always believe the quality is more important than quantity.
Okay, but you do, just to emphasize the point, you do work with kids that are teenagers and you see
Yep.
results even at that age. It's
Yeah,
not too
we
late.
have to get a bit more challenging, but yeah, I would, like I said, we'll make 18-year-olds crawl and do the same exact thing, because it's say, and then when you start to feel, when teenagers do start to feel these changes, like, wow, this stuff actually makes me feel better about themselves. I'm kind of understand myself too as well. I'm reading better in school. I'm comprehending better. So that's a really, I think when they start to feel changes happening to them, they say, okay, I'm going to keep doing my exercises.
Yes, that's a very reinforcing cycle. So I'm sure that's more helpful at the teenage level. Okay, let's just give it one more minute. If anyone wants to unmute or put a question in the chat, I can read that as well. All right, it looks like, just give it a few more seconds in case someone's typing. For anyone that missed the beginning of this meeting, this is the Friends of Different Learners meeting for December. Our meetings are always free and open to the community, and we are planning for them all to be virtual this year. We have a new website, friendsofdifferentlearners.com, and we're also on Facebook at Friends of Different Learners. If you'd like to follow us for our future events, we do try to put on a meeting every month, and it's typically the first Thursday of every month. This meeting was recorded, so if you missed some of it, you'll be able to find that on both our Facebook page and our website here shortly. And it looks like there's no further questions, but Dr. Husmillo's contact information is on the screen. So please do follow up if you'd like to ask more specific questions about your child. And I think with that, thank you so much, Dr. Husmillo. This was a very interesting topic that we haven't had something like this in quite a while. So I think there was a lot of interest. So thank you so much for spending your Thursday night with us.
Thank you for having me. It's always been a passion of mine to get this knowledge out to parents and for them to all realize that, hey, kids can keep learning and your child has genius in them that you can help achieve.
I love that. So thank you again. And thank you everyone who attended today. And we will hopefully look forward to seeing everybody at our January meeting. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Husmillo.
Thank
That
you.
was